It's late winter, but the light has changed. You can feel it. The sun lingers just a little longer on the fence line. The chickens are louder in the morning. The soil, though still cold, no longer feels asleep. Just waiting. Inside your home, seed trays crowd the windowsills. Tomato seedlings lean towards the glass. Pepper plants hold their breath in small cells. You rotate them daily so they don't grow crooked chasing the light. Outside, the garden beds are still mostly bare. But if you kneel down and press your hand into the soil, you'll notice something ancient stirring beneath the surface. This is the in-between season. Not planting, not harvesting, planning. And our ancestors knew that planning was not separate from spirituality. It was spirituality. Today we're talking about how to plan the garden like our ancestors. With intention, with observation, with seed mapping and companion planting, and how to align our modern seed starting timelines with the rhythm of the land. Because a garden is not just a layout, it's a living prayer written in rows.
Welcome, witches, pagans, heathens, spiritualists, and anyone interested in living sustainably. This is
Old Ways, New Days, where the old ways meet the good dirt.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Nell. And each week we explore the sacred art of living close to the land. From compost to covens, chickens to charms,
We're reclaiming self-sufficiency, seasonal living, and ancestral wisdom.
whether you're stirring your cauldron or your soup pot,
This is a space for wild-hearted folk walking the homesteading path with intention, magic, and muddy boots. Or in towers.
or I lost my train of thought.
Or on a trellis.
Or on a trellis, or climbing up a wall, or hanging from a bucket, or
Yeah.
on a deck. Who knows?
So we probably should have done this episode sooner because it's early spring, not late winter,
Well, we're still in fall spring.
fall spring,
Yeah, we're still in a
mid-March.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're still in fake spring right now.
Although it's been really warm, so I don't.
It's gonna get cold again.
I know, because what's the saying? In like a lamb, out like a lion, for March and
Yep, something like that.
something like that.
I don't know. But remember, we've had snow in May.
Yes, tell me about it.
Hey, that was the last time I went to Chicago. That's funny. We got dumped on,
Oh no.
and I was on my way to Chicago that day.
So if you haven't guessed by now, we are pre-recording this one too. So when we come back and we record again, we'll have to update on the Chicago trip. But yeah, we're pre-recording a bunch just because we know we're going to get busy
Yeah,
with the trip.
with the trip and with work, and always with work. but-
Always with work, yes.
And I might have some tournaments coming up for pool.
Yeah, I think you're more busy than me sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
She plays pool. Should be professional.
I'm not that good.
Oh, come on.
I'm really not.
That's not what you say when you brag to me about how you beat
Whatever.
the pants off of so-and-so.
But one person is one time. Because they deserved it.
Yeah. So as
Yeah.
as the introduction stated, we are going to talk about planning your garden. I mean, really, this should be done anywhere in between January and February.
Well, even planting should start as soon as the end of your harvest, all the way to the beginning of your seedlings starting.
Yeah, because you need to know what worked, what didn't, and what you need more of.
Yeah, planting is always going on.
Yeah, so we're just going to break it down a little bit. So, before the seeds is obvious observation. We just kind of brushed on that.
Yep.
Before industrial agriculture, before seed catalogs arrived in glossy envelopes, before tractors, there was watching. Ancient farmers observed where frost lingered longest, where snow melted first, where water pooled after heavy rain, where wind cut across the land. They didn't begin with planting, they began with noticing. So before you draw your garden map, ask, where does the morning sun land? Which corner stays damp? Where does the dog run? Where do you naturally walk? Permaculture calls this observe before you intervene, but this wisdom is older than that language. And if you're in an urban setting, this still applies. Which balcony corner is hottest? Which window gets 6 full hours? Where does reflected heat bounce from brick? Observation is the first ritual in gardening.
So now we're going to go into seed mapping. And this is the simple in the concept. Right?
Is it the simplest part of the concept? Planning?
No, it's simple in concept,
Okay.
I think.
Well, tell us more.
All right. So draw your garden space to scale. So not like the actual size, because that's going to take up a lot of room.
Get some grid paper and do 5 squares by 5 squares equals 1 foot or something.
Yeah. So place your crops intentionally. Rotate from last year's placements. But spiritually, seed mapping is something more. You are deciding where abundance grows, where medicine grows, where beauty grows. Historically, many cultures arranged crops not just by convenience, but by function. Grain near storage, herbs near the kitchen, medicines near the door. If you started seeds indoors in January or February, especially tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, here's where they should be right now. Assuming late March, early April timing in most U.S. zones 5 through 7, they should have at least 2 to 3 sets of true leaves. They likely need to be potted up into larger containers. They should be rotated daily for even growth, and you may need a grow light if they're leggy.
Well, a grow light would also prevent you from having to rotate.
Yeah, but you still kind of if you have
a really sunny window with the grow light.
Yeah, and if you have, say, tomatoes on the inside and peppers on the outside, rotate the tomatoes to the outside and peppers to the inside. If they were started in January, they may be close to 8 to 10 weeks old, meaning transplant timing is approaching once frost danger passes. Reminder, warm season crops go out only after the soil temperature raises about 60 degrees Fahrenheit and night temps consistently stay above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Outdoor sowing for cool season crops, however, can begin much earlier.
Okay, so just for our non-US, for everyone else who uses the real system.
The Celsius?
Yes. So 60 degrees Fahrenheit would be 15.5 degrees Celsius. And what did we say, 50? 50 degrees Fahrenheit would be 10 degrees Celsius. So those are your soil temperatures and nighttime temperatures.
All right.
Just trying to make sure all of our listeners are on the same page.
So then when you're writing this, why don't you add it?
I don't know, because I don't think about it at the time.
She doesn't care, people.
I do. Stop.
She doesn't care.
I do.
All right.
There's something deeply powerful about growing your own medicine. Not the kind that comes in a plastic bottle from a pharmacy shelf, but the kind that begins with soil under your fingernails. sunlight on green leaves, and the quiet patience of the seasons. For thousands of years, people all over the world turned to plants first. Long before modern pharmaceuticals, families kept small plots of healing herbs close to the kitchen door. Plants for fever, for cough, for sleep, for calming the nerves after a long day's work. Those gardens weren't just practical, they were sacred. A medicinal garden is one of the simplest ways to reconnect with that tradition, even if you only have a patio, a balcony, or a few containers in a sunny window. That's why we have partnered with a medicinal growing kit that's perfect for beginners and seasoned plant lovers alike. This kit comes with carefully selected seeds for classic healing herbs like chamomile for calming teas, calendula for skin healing, lemon balm for stress and sleep, peppermint for digestion, lavender for relaxation. What we like about this starter kit is that it removes the overwhelm. You're not standing in a garden center staring at hundreds of seed packets wondering where to begin. Instead, you start with the plants that have been traditionally used in herbalism for generations. With your seed kit, you'll also receive a copy of the Herbal Medicinal Guide from Seeds to Remedies. This guide will show you how to turn these 10 plants into tinctures, ointments, salves, poultices, decoctions, infusions, essential oils. All in minute detail so you can follow the guide even if you've never made an herbal medicine in your life. And if you're someone who practices earth-based spirituality, herbal magic, or simply wants to reconnect with older ways of caring for yourself and your family, growing medicinal herbs can become part of your seasonal rituals. Planting seeds becomes intention, harvesting becomes gratitude, and every cup of tea carries a story from the soil to your hands. If you're interested in starting your own medicinal herb garden, check out the affiliate link in the show notes. Supporting the link also helps support the podcast and keeps episodes like this growing, because sometimes the most powerful medicine is the kind you grow yourself.
Direct sow outdoors now, depending on the zones, are peas, spinach, radishes, carrots, lettuce, beets. These crops tolerate frost and often prefer cool soil. Our ancestors didn't have thermometers. They had cues. Not like my pool cue. They had, yeah, you get it.
Physical cues. Visual cues.
So, like, when the oak leaves are the size of a mouse's ear, when dandelions bloom, when frogs begin singing, those kind of cues. And you can still use those as signs of when you can start yours.
The size of a mouse's ear. That's really tiny.
It is.
That's like
even if you see one. That's the trick.
Yeah.
You got to see one.
All right. Companion planting, relationships in the soil. Companion planting is not superstition. It is ecological cooperation. Plants support one another in ways we are still studying. The classic example is the three sisters: corn, beets, beans, and squash. I don't know what's going on today.
I think she needs a high five to the face.
Stop. Corn provides structure, beans fix nitrogen, squash shades the soil. But companion planting goes far beyond that. Basil improves tomato growth and repels pests, and I've been told makes the tomatoes taste sweeter. I tried it last year. My tomatoes were amazing.
Ooh.
Marigolds deter nematodes. Nasturtiums attract aphids away from other plants, and onions deter carrot flies. This is community building. In the old ways, nothing grew alone. Fields were mixed, hedges were layered, food forests overlapped. Spiritually, companion planting asks, who thrives beside you? Who drains you? Who protects you? Who feeds you? Your garden can teach you about relationships.
In more than one way.
Yes.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to design the land with intention, which doesn't require ceremony, but it can include it. You might plant protective herbs at the boundary, place sunflowers at the eastern edge to greet dawn, create a circular bed for unity, dedicate one small patch to ancestors. In many traditions, the first seed planted was offered in gratitude. You can grow over you can you can whisper over the seeds before placing them in the soil. Grow strong, feed well, return to earth in peace. Not as performance, but as acknowledgement. Because garden is collaboration. You're not forcing life, you're partnering with it.
So if you started your seeds indoors in January, you likely began peppers, onions, and other slow growers. They should be sturdy, but may need feeding now. Diluted fish emulsion or compost tea. And you want to harden off in 2 to 3 weeks if your frost dates align. If you started seeds in February, these would most likely be tomatoes, which are now 6 to 8 weeks old. You want to pot up if the roots are crowded and begin gentle airflow with the fan to strengthen their stems. If you're planting or starting seeds in March, these would be your brassicas, which is broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Nell made a face. They may be ready for transplanting soon, and you want to begin direct sowing cold crops outdoors. If you haven't started yet, it's not too late. Gardens are forgiving. Nature is not on social media timelines.
But why?
But why?
It should be about me. So, planting the garden like our ancestors is not about rejecting modern tools. It's about reclaiming rhythm. Observe, map, plant in relationship, honor timing. You don't have to rush the season. The seeds know when to swell. The soil knows when to warm. The light knows when to lengthen. And if you listen long enough, you will too. This is Old Ways, New Days,
where planning is prayer,
mapping is meditation,
and every seed is a story waiting to unfold.